The big piece, the resume, right? This is the tool that you're going to use to get the interview. This is the most important tool that you have as a starting point. It's a marketing document. You are selling yourself, okay? It's got consistent messaging. The way that you introduce yourself in your professional introduction that we just talked about should have some similarities to the look and feel of your resume, which should also be similar to your LinkedIn profile, which we will be talking about a little bit later. So this consistent messaging where you are providing a consistent version of yourself tells a story about you. So we want to look at the value of the different styles of resume and working on resumes that make the message that you want to hear. Now, let me tell you something. How long does a recruiter look at your resume, a hiring manager? 30 seconds, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. Maybe a minute. Which tells me that if you have a bunch of stuff in there that's not engaging, that's not attracting them, or is too hard to read, you're not going to take that amazing step to the next interview. So I want to walk through for you a few of the steps of the resume that will be really critical. And I'll start by just talking about a few of the common mistakes that people make and how we can fix them. Because don't forget, you've got 30 seconds to a minute for them to cruise through your resume and see if it's worth reading more or having you in for that interview. So mistake number one, you don't research the job. If you are doing an interview for a specific job at a specific company, you need to research them and modify and target your resume and your cover letter, and we'll talk about that, to match what the job is. If you think about developers, they're looking for collaboration, agile knowledge, continuous learning, these types of things. So what do we mean by researching the job, researching the company? Well, here's an example. Kinaxis is a company here in Ottawa. They do very well. And when we research them, we learn a few different things that will definitely help us in an interview, that will help us in interviewing for the organization and for a particular company. They have a hackathon and tech talks. That means that they like continuous learning. They also seem to like some fun, don't they? Foosball and ping pong. And when we look at their core values, this is right from their webpage. Be adventurous, be real, customer-centered. Now, that means that might be something we want to add to our resume, our experience working with customer-centric activities. They want people that are self-empowered, people that jump in there and do what needs to get done. How can we add that to our resume? When we look at researching the companies and we put that into preparing for the activity, the expo, the job search expo, we need to get a list of those companies, right? And start looking at them, start researching them, find out which ones have an interest to us, find out which ones are similar to where you would like to work, and start understanding what they're looking for by looking at their core values and their mission and their vision. Common mistake number two, resumes that are difficult to read. And what I mean by that is big, long run-on sentences, right? Information that isn't relevant, just too much information. When we try to pack everything we've ever done into a resume, it simply becomes too difficult to read. So take some things out, especially if you've had a longer career. You know, I've had a really long career and I can still do my resume in 2 pages. And coaching can show you how to do that, working at an individual level. But at a high level, you want to take out all of those big sentences and put it into bullets. You want concise sentences with clear reference. And it's 2 pages, not 4 pages, not 5 pages. It's 2 pages. You're giving your recruiter or hiring manager just a taste of what you can bring to the table. And because it is only 2 pages, every word matters. You need to really look at each word and ask yourself, what value is that bringing? Am I duplicating information? Am I saying the same thing in multiple places? That's taking up valuable space. So one of the ways I recommend to deal with big, long paragraphs is to read your resume out loud. When we read it in our head, it always sounds perfect. Read your every single sentence in your resume out loud so that you can see, is that a good sentence or is it too much? Next step, unproven list of responsibilities, but not looking at quantifying our impact. For example, if you are, and I'm using the word developer right now, but it could just as easily be project manager or BA or anything like that. But we know what developers do, right? They review requirements, they write code, they write automation, they do code reviews, they fix bugs. We know what they do. So if your resume only includes your responsibilities, you're no different from anybody else. What we need to see is some of your accomplishments, some of numbers. Perhaps you improved performance by 7%. Perhaps you had, if you're in the call center, you had a call resolution rate of 93%. What are the values? Maybe you brought a project in on time. Maybe you were doing project management and you resolved a certain number of customer issues. Give us some information. Don't make me try to figure it out. Be very clear on what you bring to the table. Number 4, longer. We talked about this one already. It can't be longer than 2 pages, so adapt it. And when I talk about adapting a resume, I'm also talking about targeting. It simply won't work to have one resume that works for every company and every job you want to apply to. What I do is I get one big list of all of my skills, qualifications, achievements, everything. And each time I go to apply to an opportunity, I pull from that big long list and pick out the ones that are most relevant for this opportunity. So when you're doing that, you need to target your resume to make sure it's going exactly for the opportunity that's listed. Number 5. This is really important. We talked about 30, 45 seconds to read your resume. Obviously, we start at the top. This is where it's really important to understand the Canadian culture. Oftentimes, people put their education right at the top. I have a master's degree in this and a PhD here or a BA or whatever it is. In Canada, education is not the most important thing. In fact, in a resume, it goes at the bottom. So if you're starting off talking about your education, you're already wasting time of my time to read where I could be reading something fascinating about you. This is where I want you to talk about why you do what you do. Let's say you're a project coordinator. You're a project management. Maybe you love seeing a project through from beginning to end. Maybe it's working with all those different types of people, from technical people to the customer side. Give me the information about what you do, why you do it, and some really impressive accomplishment that you have. Start off with that. That will grab my attention. You need to talk about your relevant skills and qualifications. Each person, this first part, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more, it's called a summary section. It's very unique. Everybody's is different. And this is an area where if you choose, coaching might be very relevant for you to help you get that first part that people read and make sure that they're pulled in to want to read more.